I never used to think a single sentence could bruise the way a fist does, but the night my brother spat those words at me, I felt something inside me splinter. My name is Kayla Hart. I was 24 then, and up until that moment I still believed my older brother, Damon, was the one person in my family I could count on to have my back. We'd survived the same childhood storms, our father's temper, our mother's quiet, disappearing acts, the constant shuffling of loyalties inside a house that never truly felt like home. I thought the two of us were the unbroken parts of that place. But I was wrong, and it took his voice dripping with mockery to show me just how wrong. It happened in the kitchen of his apartment, a place I used to think of as neutral ground. I had stopped by because he'd invited me for dinner, something he hadn't done in months, and I'd been stupidly excited. I'd even brought a bottle of wine I couldn't afford. When I let myself in, I heard laughter, bright, feminine, and unfamiliar. His girlfriend, Ava. I'd met her once before, briefly, during a rushed holiday dinner. She was striking, all glossy hair and curated softness, the kind of woman who seemed to glow even in bad lighting. They were on the couch when I entered the living room, her legs draped over his lap, his hand tracing lazy lines down her shin. A knife of jealousy stabbed me then, not romantic, but something harsher, something that came from years of being replaced, sidelined, outgrown. Damon used to look at me with that kind of warmth. Now it was reserved for someone whose name he forgot to mention until months into their relationship. "Hey," Ava said with exaggerated enthusiasm, as if I were a distant acquaintance, not his sister. "We were just talking about you." I hung my jacket over the chair and forced a smile. "Hopefully good things." Damon snorted. "Depends on how you take it." There was that tone, something slippery underneath it, like oil underwater. I brushed it off, telling myself I was imagining things. We all had bad days. Maybe he was tired. Maybe he'd had a stressful week. I kept smoothing excuses over him the way I always did, desperate to believe nothing was wrong. But even then, a warning pulsed at the back of my mind, faint and insistent, telling me to pay attention. Dinner was awkward from the start. Ava asked questions that felt more like tests. Did I have a boyfriend? Why not? Did I go out much? Was I the solitary artistic type? She said it with a smirk, as if solitude were a flaw. Damon didn't defend me. He didn't even look at me. He just kept refilling Ava's glass. I tried steering the conversation somewhere neutral. Work, family, anything that wouldn't make my skin itch. But Ava kept circling back, like she was hunting something. When she asked, "So, have you ever even been in love?" I laughed softly, about to answer with something vague and harmless. But Damon beat me to it. "Kay, in love." His voice was syrupy with scorn. "Please, she's probably a lesbian who can't get a man." Ava giggled, covering her mouth like she'd just heard a dirty joke. Damon leaned back in his chair, proud of himself. For a moment, the whole room seemed to tilt sideways. My breath lodged in my throat. Of all the insults he could have chosen, why that one? Why something so pointed, so rehearsed, so cruelly specific? It wasn't even the words, it was the venom behind them. The way he delivered the line like he'd been waiting to use it. I stared at him, unable to speak. He didn't flinch, didn't look sorry. If anything, he looked triumphant, as if hurting me had been the goal all along. "Wow," I finally said, my voice shaking despite my effort to keep it even. "What the hell is your problem, Damon?" He shrugged. "Just facts. You're always alone, always judging everyone else's relationships." What am I supposed to think? That was when I realized something had shifted between us long before tonight. Something I hadn't noticed because I'd been too busy holding on to the version of him I wanted to believe in. Ava stood and pretended to tidy up dishes that didn't need tidying, giving us space, or pretending to. I saw the way she watched us from the corner of her eye. Too attentive, too invested, like she'd been waiting for this fracture. Damon kept talking, and each word chipped away at my composure. He said I was dramatic, too sensitive, that he was just joking, and I needed to learn to take a hit. The more he spoke, the more my stomach clenched. He sounded rehearsed, coached, or worse, complicit. I pushed back my chair. "I'm leaving." "Of course you are," he said. "You always run." I froze. He said it so casually, as if he knew exactly where to poke to make me bleed. Something in his tone told me this wasn't spontaneous cruelty. This was built, nurtured, fed. I grabbed my jacket and headed for the door. My hand shook as I tried to fit the zipper. I wasn't sure if it was anger or heartbreak. Maybe both. As I reached the doorway, Ava called out, her voice deceptively sweet. "Kayla, don't take it personally. Damon just says what everyone else is thinking." I turned back. Her smile didn't reach her eyes. That smile lodged itself in my mind long after I left the apartment, long after the cold air slapped my cheeks, long after I sat in my car, staring at the steering wheel, unable to drive. It was the kind of smile people wore when they knew a secret, your secret, and were delighted to watch you unravel. On the road home, my phone buzzed. A text from Damon. "Don't make this bigger than it is." Seriously, that was the moment something in me snapped. Not loudly, not dramatically, quietly, cleanly, like a thread pulled free from a very old knot. Because if he thought this was small, then he was hiding something big. I didn't know what it was yet, but the red flag he just waved in my face, it wasn't just a warning. It was an invitation, and I intended to follow it, even if it took me somewhere dark. Especially if it did. That night, lying awake, I realized something chilling. Damon had said everyone else. Who else? Exactly had he been talking to about me, and why did it sound like they'd been planning something? I barely slept after that night at Damon's apartment. Every time I closed my eyes, I replayed his voice, mocking, confident, certain, as if he'd been waiting for an excuse to tear me down. The next morning, I woke up with that raw, hollow feeling in my chest, the kind that made you second-guess everything you thought you knew about someone. Damon wasn't just lashing out. He'd aimed. And for him to aim, he had to know where the weak point was. I kept circling back to the same question. Who else was he talking to about me? The way he'd said it, everyone else, felt deliberate, almost rehearsed. And the way Ava smirked as if she were in on some private joke made the whole thing gnaw at me. By noon, I gave up pretending to work and drove to the old Cafe Damon and I used to haunt when we were teenagers. It was one of the last places we'd felt like a team. We'd sit by the window, dunking fries into milkshakes, talking about how we'd get out of our hometown someday. I wasn't sure what I hoped to find there now. Maybe some grounding, maybe some memory that would tell me what I'd missed. I ordered coffee, sat by the same window, and watched the late-day sun smear itself across the glass. And that's when I heard the voices at the table behind me. One male, one female, both familiar. "She took it exactly how you said she would," Ava was saying, her voice softer than usual, like she was trying not to draw attention. Crying inside, pretending not to. "You know how she is." I froze, my fingers tightening around my cup. Damon's voice followed. "Told you. She's predictable." My heart slammed against my ribs. They were right behind me, separated only by a half wall and a cluster of fake plants. I leaned back slowly, just enough to catch more of their conversation without being seen. Ava giggled. "Still, don't you think you went a little hard? The lesbian thing? That was brutal." Damon shrugged. "She needed to hear it. She keeps acting like she's above everyone, like she's waiting to be rescued by some perfect guy she made up. Maybe if she thinks people are talking about her, she'll get over herself." People. Plural. My stomach twisted. "I mean," Ava said, "it's not like the stuff we told them was even that bad." Them. I held my breath, so tightly my lungs burned. Damon leaned back in his chair. I could hear the scrape. "Kayla's whole vibe just rubs people the wrong way. Doesn't matter what we said. Everyone's already noticed." Ava dropped her voice to a whisper, but I still caught it. "You think she'll find out?" "About what?" he asked casually, stirring something in his cup. "The group chat or the posts?" My heart lurched. "Posts?" Ava laughed, softer this time. "Both." Damon let out a sigh. "She won't. She's clueless. And even if she does, what's she going to do? Cry at me? She always comes back." A cold throb crawled up my spine. Damon was calm, comfortable. Like this wasn't new, like this had been going on for a while. I waited until I heard the scrape of their chairs, the clink of their cups being picked up, the soft murmur of them heading toward the exit. Then I stood up too fast, my head spinning, and slipped out the back door into the parking lot. I leaned against the brick wall, pressing the heel of my hand against my chest. There was a group chat and posts. I didn't know what they contained, but I knew one thing for sure. Whatever was going on, Damon and Ava were orchestrating it. The betrayal I'd felt before wasn't even scratching the surface. That afternoon, I drove home with my grip tight around the steering wheel. When I got inside my apartment, I kicked off my shoes and pulled my laptop onto the couch. My hands trembled as I typed Damon's name into the search bar on social media. I didn't expect to find anything. He was careful, always had been. But people he interacted with, they weren't always so discreet. About 10 minutes in, I caught something. A comment on a mutual friend's page. Someone had tagged Damon in a meme about emotionally stunted women with attachment issues. Stupid and juvenile. But the comment thread underneath made my skin crawl. A string of inside jokes. References to someone being exactly how Dee said. Laughing emojis. A comment from a girl I barely knew. She sounds miserable, lol. And then a reply from Damon's account. You have no idea. It didn't name me. But it didn't have to. He'd been talking about me publicly. Subtly, indirectly, but publicly. And Ava had known. Maybe even contributed. Maybe others had too. The anger came slow at first, then fast, hot and steady, like a flame that had been waiting for oxygen. I wasn't going to confront him yet, not until I knew everything. And I needed more than vague threads and overheard conversations. The breadcrumb came when I checked Ava's name. Her account was mostly locked down, but she wasn't careful with her tag posts. One photo caught my attention. Her at a party, with Damon's arm around her waist, both of them smiling like VIPs. The caption from the friend who posted it read, "The power couple stirring the pot again." I zoomed in on the comments. There were jokes I understood now. References to tonight's target, laughing hints about cause and effect, and one comment, buried among the replies, that made the hair on my arms rise. Wonder what she'll do when she finds out. She. Me. That was my breadcrumb. My first real piece of proof that whatever Damon and Ava were doing, it was intentional. The discovery didn't break me. It clarified me. That night, staring at my screen, I whispered to myself, I'm going to find out everything you've said about me. And I meant it. Before I shut down the laptop, I recorded a voice memo meant for my future audience, the ones who would eventually hear the story. My voice was steady, but the anger underneath it pulsed like a heartbeat. If you're still here listening, I murmured, and if you want to hear how far this goes, make sure you like this video and subscribe. Because trust me, this is only the beginning. When I went to bed, I wasn't scared anymore. I was ready, almost eager, and I didn't have to wait long. Because the next morning, as I unlocked my phone, a notification popped up from one of the accounts that had left a cryptic comment under Ava's picture. A message. 4 words. Words that made my blood run cold. We know about you. And then another. Ask Damon. That was when I realized I wasn't just dealing with petty gossip. There was a group, and they all thought they knew me. The cliffhanger hung there, sharp and heavy, as I stared at the screen. Because if they knew something about me, then Damon had told them something. Something I didn't even know about myself. The message stared back at me like a pair of eyes in a dark room. We know about you. I don't know how long I sat on the edge of my bed, phone in hand, pulse thudding so loudly it felt like it shook the floorboards. There was no profile picture, no real name, just a throwaway account that had followed me moments before sending the message. I clicked the username. No posts. No followers. It was created that very morning. This wasn't random. Someone had made the account specifically to reach me. Ask Damon. My throat tightened. There was an immediate urge to confront him right then, to call him and demand answers, to scream everything I'd held in since that awful dinner night. But something stopped me. A voice inside me. I don't know if it was instinct, caution, or the start of a new version of myself, whispered that if I confronted him now, he'd lie. He was ready for that. He'd practiced it. I needed truth, and truth came from evidence. I opened my laptop again, but this time I didn't go to social media. I went to the one place I'd avoided because I thought only paranoid people did this. I went to search guides on identifying fake accounts and tracing patterns. It took me 2 hours, 2 cups of coffee, and 1 emotional breakdown, but I managed to connect enough dots to confirm what I already suspected. That throwaway account was connected to 2 others I'd seen commenting on Ava's photos, and one of those accounts followed Damon. Not publicly close, but close enough to be in the orbit. A pattern was forming, a small web of people, a network, and I wasn't at the center of it. I was the target. My hands trembled as I dug deeper. Old memories started to click into place, not obvious moments, but subtle ones. That time a coworker made a weirdly specific joke at my expense that I'd brushed off. That stranger at a bar last month who told me I seemed intense, even though we'd never spoken. The woman at the gym who avoided me like I'd been rude to her, even though I'd never met her. Had Damon, my own brother, been talking about me to strangers? Turning me into some kind of running joke? The truth pressed down on me, so hard it felt like a weight on my chest. And beneath that weight, something colder stirred. A clarity I hadn't felt before. If they wanted a target, they'd picked the wrong person. Around mid-afternoon, my phone buzzed again. This time, it was from someone I actually knew. Layla, a friend I hadn't spoken to in months. Our friendship had gone quiet, but never messy. I opened the message. "Hey, can we talk? It's about something I heard." My fingers stiffened as I typed back, "What did you hear?" She responded with a voice memo, short, hesitant. I closed my eyes and hit play. "Okay, so, I don't want to start drama, but I thought you should know that a couple weeks ago at a party, Damon said some stuff about you. I wasn't sure if he was kidding or not, but people talked. Just call me when you can." My heart dropped. The undeniable proof I'd been searching for was right there, spoken by someone with no reason to lie. My head went hot, and then cold, a rush of adrenaline washing through me. I called her immediately. "Kay," she answered softly. "You okay? Just tell me," I said, my voice tight. "What did he say?" She hesitated. "He told people you were unstable, that you'd had some kind of breakdown last year, that you were obsessed with controlling him and Ava, that you'd threatened to ruin their relationship." "I never what? Why would he say that?" She exhaled. "I don't know." He sounded convincing. "And you know how people are when they drink, they spread things without thinking. I just wanted you to know." I thanked her, hung up, and sat still until the room stopped spinning. Damon wasn't just mocking me behind my back. He was rewriting who I was, spreading stories so confidently that people believed him without question. A false version of me existed out there, a fragile, dramatic, obsessive caricature. He turned me into entertainment. It was unforgivable. My thoughts sharpened. For the first time, my grief over losing my brother felt smaller than the fury burning underneath it. If he thought he could decide my reputation, he was going to learn what it felt like to lose control of his own. But I wasn't going to lash out blindly. That would make me look exactly how he painted me. No, I was going to be smart, precise, clean. I needed a plan, and the first step was to gather more proof. I spent the next week documenting every post, every comment, every vague reference that could be traced back to Damon or Ava or their circle. Screenshots, dates, links, connections. I mapped it out until the whole ugly structure lay clear in front of me, how they'd spread rumors, how others had amplified them, how small distortions became full-blown stories. But the moment everything snapped into perfect, horrifying clarity came late Friday night, when I received another anonymous message. "Thought you should see this." Attached was a screenshot of a private group chat. The name of the chat was Hard Truths. The first message was from Damon. "Kay's losing it again. She showed up at the cafe yesterday alone, stalking us. She's getting worse." My breath caught. Then a reply from Ava. "Should we warn people? She's unpredictable." And another member. "Post something vague. People will get the hint." Then Damon again. "Go for it." My vision went blurry. Not only had they lied about me, they'd framed me as dangerous, unstable, a threat, and others chimed in, adding their own little exaggerations. They weren't just gossiping. They were smearing me, destroying me. In that moment, something clicked inside me. I didn't cry. I didn't shake. I didn't scream. I just stilled. It was the first moment I understood what real betrayal felt like. Not the cinematic kind with shouting matches and slam doors. The quiet kind. The methodical kind. The kind that comes from people who smile at you while carving you open behind your back. I closed the laptop slowly, and I knew what I needed to do next. Not rage. Not confrontation. Not chaos. I was going to dismantle every lie they told. Piece by piece, I was going to expose them, publicly, cleanly, and on my terms. And my first counterattack would start with the very tool they tried to use against me. Their own words. I drafted a message and sent it to the anonymous account that had leaked the screenshot. "Why are you helping me?" A few seconds later, the reply came. "Because they did the same thing to someone else. And they got away with it." Another reply. "Don't let them get away with it this time." My jaw clenched. I wouldn't. That night, I organized everything. Compiled it. Structured it. Laid it out like a case file. And then, with my heart thudding steady, not frantic, but controlled, I recorded a video. Not to post. Not yet. Just to have it ready. In it, I spoke calmly, clearly, like someone who finally understood the game she'd been dragged into. And I ended with, "When you decide to fight back against people who think you're weak, you only get one chance. One clean shot. And when that moment comes, you take it." But I wasn't ready to pull the trigger just yet. I needed one more piece. One final move. And fate handed it to me the very next morning. Damon texted. Casually. Cheerfully. "Hey, wanna grab dinner tonight? Me and Ava wanna talk." My entire body froze. They didn't know I had the proof. They didn't know I'd seen everything. And they had just invited me straight into their den. I stared at the screen, a slow, deliberate calm settling over me like fresh snow. This was it. This was my opening. But they didn't know that the person walking into that dinner wasn't the same Kayla they thought they'd been manipulating. I typed back one word. "Sure." And as I hit send, a cold, electric certainty ran through me. Tonight, the confrontation would begin. Tonight, Damon would see exactly who I was when I wasn't pretending to be the sister he could walk all over. Tonight, I would hold my final move, and they would never see it coming. Damon chose the restaurant. Of course he did. A glossy little place downtown with dim lights, expensive flatware, and the kind of atmosphere that forces people to behave. It was a control move. I recognized it instantly. A public setting meant he expected me to stay contained, to not make a scene, to fold. He didn't understand that I didn't need a scene. I needed precision. When I walked in, they were already seated. Damon gave me that familiar, practiced half-smile, the one he used when he wanted to appear harmless. Ava wore a soft sweater and a softer expression, like she was playing at empathy. Their performance would have fooled anyone who didn't already know the truth. "Kay," Damon said, standing like he still believed he was the gracious older brother. "Glad you came." I slid into the seat across from them, my face calm, my body language relaxed. They didn't realize those were warning signs. Ava brushed a strand of hair behind her ear. "We just want to clear the air." I let my eyes settle on her, steady, unblinking. "Sure. Let's clear it." She shifted. Damon picked up the menu, though he wasn't actually reading it. "Listen," he began. "We feel like things got blown out of proportion. And we're worried about you." Honestly, it was almost impressive, the way he said it with such confidence, as if he fully believed his own lie, as if I were the unstable one, as if the weeks of whispers he'd spread behind my back were just a misunderstanding. I didn't interrupt. I let him dig the hole deeper. "We've noticed you seem tense lately," Damon added. "Withdrawn. Maybe even paranoid. And Ava and I talked, and we thought maybe you should consider." I leaned forward. "You done?" Damon paused. "I'm trying to help you." "You're trying to get ahead of something," I said, my voice almost gentle. "Because you think I don't know." A flicker crossed his face, just one, barely there, but I saw it. The first fracture in his confidence. Ava straightened, her smile tightening. "Kayla, we didn't come here to fight." "No," I agreed. "You came here to manage me, to keep the story under your control." The silence between us sharpened. Then I pulled out my phone and laid it face up on the table. Ava's eyes snapped to it immediately. Damon's jaw clenched. "I know about the posts," I said quietly. "The comments. The jokes. The group chat." Ava's facade cracked so quickly she didn't have time to hide it. Damon's voice dropped, stern and paternal. "Kay, don't start. You're misinterpreting things." I opened my camera roll. One screenshot, then another, then the group chat. Their words, their names, their lies, all neatly displayed. I didn't push the phone toward them. I didn't need to. They could see perfectly fine from where they sat. The color left Damon's face like someone had pulled a plug. Ava whispered, "Where did you get that?" "Someone you've done this to before," I said. "Looks like you too have a pattern." Ava swallowed hard. Damon's nostrils flared as he reached out toward the phone, but I slipped it back into my pocket before he touched it. His voice cracked with the first real tremor I'd heard in years. "Kayla, look, you don't understand. It wasn't. It was exactly what it looks like." I cut in. "You weren't joking. You weren't worried about me. You were building a version of me you could tear down whenever you wanted attention." "Kay, and the worst part," I continued, "you enjoyed it." Ava's composure finally shattered. "We were just venting. Everyone vents." "Venting," I repeated softly. "Is that what you call inventing a breakdown I never had? Or telling people I'm unstable? Or encouraging posts about me being dangerous?" Ava's mouth opened, then closed. Damon's gaze darted around the restaurant, panic rising beneath his skin. "Kay, can we talk about this somewhere else? Privately." "Why? So you can intimidate me? Manipulate me? Gaslight me?" I shook my head. "No. We're doing it here." He leaned forward, voice low and urgent. "You don't want to escalate this. Trust me." "Funny," I said. "That's exactly what I came here to do." And then I revealed my final move, not loud, not dramatic, just devastatingly simple. I placed a small digital recorder on the table. His eyes widened. "It's been running since I sat down," I said. "Everything you've said, every attempt to diagnose me, every lie you're scrambling to keep straight." Ava whispered, "Jesus." I continued calmly, "I'm not posting anything. Yet. But I've compiled every screenshot, every message, every comment. And I've stored it where you can't reach it." Damon's voice turned strangled. "Kayla." "No," I said. "You're going to hear me now." And once I began, I didn't stop. I told them everything they'd done, point by point, not yelling, because yelling is easy to dismiss. My voice was steady, and that steadiness made their faces fall. "You didn't just hurt me," I said. "You erased me. You replaced me with a caricature. And you expected me to crawl back to you for help." Ava's eyes filled with tears, not remorse, but fear. Damon swallowed hard. "What do you want?" And there it was, the truth behind his panic. Not concern. Not love. Fear of consequences. "I want you to stop," I said. "For good. No more rumors. No more jokes. No more stories. You clear my name with everyone you lied to. You own what you did. And if we don't..." Damon's voice was barely audible. "Then the whole world finds out what you are." He looked down at his hands, shaking. Ava broke first. "We'll stop," she whispered. "We'll fix it. Whatever you want, we'll do it." Damon didn't speak, but the defeat in his posture told me everything. He knew he'd lost. I stood slowly. "Good. And Damon..." He finally looked up. "We're done." His face crumpled, not dramatically, not loudly, but in a small, stunned way that made him look like the boy I once loved as a brother. But I didn't let the softness pull me in. That version of him was gone. He'd killed it long before tonight. I turned and walked out of the restaurant, the cold evening air hitting my skin like a baptism. Free. Cleansed. Alive. I didn't cry. I didn't shake. I didn't look back. In the days that followed, Damon made good on his fear. Apologies trickled across social media, not specific, not detailed, but enough to undo the damage. Enough to show people he'd lied. Ava deleted half her accounts. The group chat disappeared. They were dismantling the weapon they had built. And I didn't have to lift another finger. One quiet night afterward, sitting alone by my window, watching the streetlights flicker, I recorded the final part of the story for the people listening now. If this story meant something to you, if you've ever been turned into someone you're not, if you've ever had to reclaim your own name, then I hope you stick around for the next one. Like the video. Subscribe. There are more stories coming, and I think you'll want to hear them. I paused, the room silent except for the hum of the heater. Sometimes, I added softly, the loudest things in life happen quietly. Betrayal, healing, growth, roots pushing through soil in the dark. Silence isn't empty. It's where we decide who we are, after everyone else has tried to decide for us. I ended the recording and let the quiet hold me like something warm, steady, and entirely mine.